All right. Well, as Aaron mentioned, well, depending on where you are, we still have a few sprinkles in some parts of the state, but another very, very warm overnight, and that's going to be one of the themes here for the short-term outlook. Really more like summer than late spring for at least for the next couple of days. For the past week, our mean temperatures, which are on the left here, ranged from near or even a degree below normal across the eastern portions of lower Michigan and the southern part of the state to much above normal in the western UP. If you're in that part of the state, you realize, well, of course, you know you had some of the first 80-degree days of the growing season, and it was again, it had to do with that cutoff upper low feature that we talked about last week and the circulation around that. But it actually turned out that some of the warmest weather we had in the state during the week was in western upper Michigan. That's a change from the pattern we've seen for a lot of the spring. Precipitation wise here for and these totals actually just go through yesterday morning. So there are, and I'll show you there's been some updates to this, but in general, for most of the state, it was a drier than normal week, and it led to lots of progress. Almost 20% of the corn crop was planted from Sunday to Sunday the week before. So rapid progress. Soybeans were a little bit less than 10%. I believe it was 9% that were completed, but it was a very, very productive week for field work. And corn planting remains at least 10% the long-term normals here for the date. So that's a good thing. And again, it does depend somewhat though on where in the state you are. There are, and that said, there still are some portions of, especially lower Michigan, in the Saginaw Valley, we've been talking about that, where soils still remain abnormally dry. And that goes all the way back to really the drier than normal trend last fall. This is a current soil moisture image. Now, this is for the top 3 feet. So again, we're talking about more than just topsoil here, but the browns and reds here are areas where we have relatively low moisture relative to climatology, and the greens are the opposite. And again, what it suggests is that we still do across lots of central lower Michigan and western lower Michigan, we have some areas that still are lacking or at least below normal in terms of water in the ground, soil moisture in the ground. The opposite is true in portions of eastern upper Michigan and southeastern and northeastern lower Michigan. So again, that depends on where you are. There has been some expansion of dryness, though, I would note especially across western areas of lower Michigan here. But this time of the year, that's it could be it looked at it a number of different ways, but it's allowed a lot of things to get done. And I would also note that we certainly in the forecast we have more rainfall coming. So it's not as if we're starting a long-term dry spell. We're in a very, very active weather pattern right now, and that's really the focus what I'm going to talk about here in a moment. Degree day totals on the left-hand side here, these are the observed base 50 totals. This one goes back to the beginning of March. Now, beginning here in the next couple of weeks, I will shift over and we'll look at degree days relative to our May one, which is typically more what we typically do. We'll be looking at the 8650 corn units, specifically at corn phenology. And again, we'll start that in a couple of weeks. But this particular seasonal total beginning in March gives us an idea, especially for those crops that have overwintered. And where are they at right now? And on the right-hand side, these are departure from normal accumulations for the middle of May relative to normal. And the same pattern is there, but a change note that we've had a delay north and surplus south, and that's been the spatial pattern for much of the season. In the last couple of weeks, that's changed. We still have surpluses, especially across southeastern lower, and also now across western upper Michigan, where we're a little bit advanced, but the deficit area, the areas that lacked heat unit accumulation earlier, notably the northern lower and portions of central and eastern upper Michigan. Those aren't so far behind anymore. So you can see a little bit of blue there, maybe a couple of days, but we have lost some of that major difference we've had from north to south for much of the growing season thus far. And so some of the, again, another way of looking at this is some of those crops, those again overwintering crops, have caught up, at least in terms of where they should be for this time of year, and relative to where we were in the past. On the weather map this morning, we have another cutoff low feature actually over the region, and that's resulted in some of that southeast to northwest moving precipitation across the state. We've got a couple scattered showers across upper Michigan, and then some down in the far southeastern corner. But generally, just a warm, almost again an early summer type of morning. Temperatures generally in the upper 50s and low 60s, which is at least 10 to 15 degrees above normal, depending on location. So unusually mild nights. I would also note I was looking at some soil temperatures and soil temperatures, 2-inch soil temperatures, bare soil in most of the state, running at least in the upper 50s into the mid and even upper 60s during the day. And so where there's moisture there, optimal conditions really for, especially where we've gotten some recent rains for germination and early establishment of recently planted crops. So that's we certainly can't argue about that. On the lower right-hand side, there was more shower activity yesterday, especially in northwestern lower Michigan. That's what I wanted to highlight. These are precipitation totals for the last 24 hours, and you can see in some areas there we picked up significant rain. Again, especially northwestern lower portions of upper Michigan, 1/2 to 1 inch additional fell yesterday, but it was much less than that in most other areas of the state. So, where are we headed here over the next couple of days? Well, major weather system just off to our west out over the northern Great Plains here this morning. You can see the low pressure here. There's a couple of frontal boundaries, including a warm front. Those are going to rapidly approach us here later today, but it will set the stage today, mostly high pressure across the state for likely, well, today and tomorrow will be the warmest days of the upcoming week. And we will see our high temperatures today edging up for many areas into the 80s. So low to mid 80s for a high. Again, think early summer rather than mid-May. And they won't fall very far tonight either, but it will set the stage here. This is the weather map for this evening. You can see that that warm front does move into lower Michigan, and there because of well atmospheric instability, because of some upper air support with this next feature as it moves close to us. We will see showers and thunderstorms break out here this evening from west to east across the state, beginning probably mid-evening and then going into the late evening and early morning hours tomorrow morning. Some of those, especially across southwestern Michigan, could be strong. May see some severe weather, unfortunately, with this. The earlier those storms get here, the higher the risk is. Here's the outlook from Storm Prediction Center in Norman regarding the potential for severe weather here this evening. And you can see that a fairly large portion of southwestern lower Michigan is in the enhanced. That's the level 3 out of 5 risk for severe weather. Primary threats here would probably be strong damaging wind, but because of the way the atmosphere set up tonight, could also see some large hail, even a couple of spin up tornadoes. So I would not be surprised at all to see a couple of weather watch boxes here as the evening rolls on. Again, the greatest threat for that in Michigan will be across the southwest, decreasing as you go north and east across the state. So something just to keep an eye on before all said and done. Precip amounts tonight generally in the 1/4 to 1/2 inch range where precipitation occurs. The storms will be moving along, and then by tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, that frontal boundary is pushed through and it brings in drier air, and it's an occluded front. There's actually it shows up here as a little bit as a cold front here as well, but it doesn't mean it's going to cool down, at least not immediately, because tomorrow, Friday, will be fair, windy and dry and very warm. We will see high temperatures once again, probably in many areas in the mid 80s. So tomorrow, in some spots, probably will be the warmest day of the week. That's fully 20 degrees above where we typically are for mid-May. And again, windy conditions, but just as you seem to a theme here, you're going to detect there's another weather system off to our west with this area of low pressure. It's an upper air system, and that will bring another threat of rain. That again, this is the system, weather system number two. That comes overnight tomorrow night into early Saturday, and it likely just showers and maybe a couple thunder showers. Not looking as active as it will probably tonight, but still another quarter to half inch of rain in many areas before the precip comes to an end on Saturday morning. And then finally, some cooler air from Canada moves south and east into Michigan and sets the stage for most of the state. It's going to be sort of a cloudy and cool weekend, significantly noticeably cooler, and our high temperatures by Saturday and Sunday only in the 50s north to the low 60s in the south. So contrast to where we are today and tomorrow, it's going to be seeming much more like late spring by the weekend. Probably there as well on Monday. And I'll bring in here weather system. This is conditions for tomorrow night and the next round of that's weather system number two with that dark green over Michigan. No, that's the thunderstorms or rain I was talking about then. Here's Saturday morning, some lingering showers, but most of that should be over during the AM hours and mostly dry, but a lot of clouds still hanging around and much cooler. Now, weather system number three. What about after that? Well, dry conditions for most of the state on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. The next weather system approaches here on Tuesday into Wednesday, and that's what you're seeing here. This is off of the numerical forecast guidance, but another big wave upper trough moving into the region. We've seen several of those move through very active weather pattern. That's important as we look into the medium range as well. Things are moving progressively, generally from west to east, so we're not staying in any one pattern for too long. But it certainly has made for a very active storm track. And then on the right hand side here, this is the surface pressure, low pressure over in this case over Missouri, bringing another area of rainfall into Michigan. At this point in time, as this particular graphic on the right suggests, the greatest chances for precipitation with weather system three will be across the southern part of the state. But still, this is a significant weather system, and it does certainly have the potential for at least another quarter to half an inch. So collectively here in the gauge between now and the middle of, or well, next Thursday, a pretty wet week. And this is back to Aaron's comments here a little bit ago. It does several chances, at least three major chances for precipitation in most areas, picking up at least 3/4 to 1 inch, some cases more than that, an inch and a half. So we will see a slowdown certainly in field work and opportunities to get out there because of the rain. So looking for again, wetter than normal conditions over much of the upcoming week. In terms of potential evapotranspiration, how much atmospheric demand do we have? Well, it's above normal, and that's a lot of that has to do with the next couple days being very warm. And so for most areas, this is the weekly total here through next Wednesday. And what it suggests is average daily totals somewhere between, well, it's 1400s and 1900s, which would be above normal for this time of the year. Higher amounts certainly across the southern part of the state. So there will be, because of the warm days here in the near future, especially, there will be elevated water, at least demand. And the water, of course, has to be there to evaporate. If it's not, these rates are be smaller than that, but this is the potential rate for what the atmosphere. So greater than normal demand for, or at least potential for evaporation is expected for the upcoming week. If you're looking at water management, and Lyndon might want to address that later especially in the areas in western lower Michigan that have been drier, but Mother Nature probably will help here in those areas that were dry with some rainfall in the next couple days. And so then finally moving into the medium range, there are some changes that I think are important to talk about here. Both the 6 to 10 day and 8 to 14 day outlooks indicate yet another upper trough moving through here. This is next week. and the 8 to 14 day moves that through. But as a result of that, and the other change here from what we've been talking generally about warmer than normal mean temperatures here for the last couple of weeks, and that's been a theme in a lot of our long lead outlooks. But this guidance now suggests that there's going to be a break in that, and the break is that the jet stream is it basically has sagged a little further south than it has been in the past, and as a result of that, we will have more of an influence from the north, and our mean temperatures are expected to fall to below normal levels, at least for a temporary period. And it's looking like the last the last part of the third week and into the fourth week of May. So a little bit of a break here in this warmer than normal pattern that we've been in with cooler than normal mean temperatures. And as you can see below that, also an active storm track. And that's certainly what we have right now. So above normal precipitation totals. Collectively, that suggests again that our progress, which has been wonderful and great in most parts of the state here with field work, is gonna be well. It's gonna be as usual in Michigan. We'll have some challenges, but another way to look at that too is of course some areas needed the moisture, and that we should get we should get moisture here over the next few days. So cooler and wetter than normal, looking into that last part of May. And again, at this point, that change looks like it is temporary, and we may go back to warmer than normal. After that, we do get new guidance for the long leads. That's going to be issued later today from the Climate Prediction Center. We'll talk about that next week. But my guess is we see our outlook probably edge back towards at least normal, if not warmer than normal, for looking into June. And so, summarizing here again, very active summer-like weather for the next couple days with several chances for precip. Keep an eye out for some maybe possibility of some severe weather later this evening, especially southwestern part of the state, and then cooling off pretty noticeably here for the weekend and into early next week before the next weather system comes the middle of next week. And I'll stop there, wrap up there.